Hello everyone, welcome to Byju's Exam Prep IS. Today we are here to discuss the daily quiz for 23rd of March 2024. So let's begin with our first question. The first question is about hepatitis B. Now why are we discussing about hepatitis B? Because of this particular article that we have in Down to Earth website. So this basically talks about hepatitis B, but a lot of things are still unknown about hepatitis B and how exactly we need to understand the various aspects. And there was a study that was conducted by the Gangaram Hospital, and there are various things that have been listed out in these studies. So now let's look at the question that we have. Consider the following statements about hepatitis B. Hepatitis B is a viral infection that attacks the liver and can cause both acute and chronic disease. Hepatitis B virus is transmitted through contact with blood or other body fluids of any infected person. There is no cure for hepatitis B, but it can be prevented with a vaccine that is a part of universal immunization program in India. Now, when it comes to hepatitis B, if you break down the word itself, when it comes to the word hepat, this is something which is related to the liver. And whenever you have itis at the end of any such disease, it means that there is some kind of inflammation. So that's why this is, in a manner you can say, it is like the inflammation of the liver, where we see that liver will be infected. It can even lead to very serious conditions in the liver like liver cirrhosis or even failure of the liver. So overall, that's why when it comes to it, it is a viral infection and it attacks the liver and can cause both acute and chronic diseases. That's correct. So all these parts given here in statement 1 is correct. Hepatitis B is transmitted through contact with blood or other body fluids of an infected person. Now this is also correct, that body fluids actually lead to the transmission of hepatitis B. That's why the problem that once we had almost 15-20 years back in India, that also had originated from syringes, the used syringes that were being used by many hospitals. That is what led to a sudden outbreak of hepatitis B in India. So that's why this is correct. There is no cure for hepatitis B. This is also correct, and can be prevented through a vaccine. This is also correct, and this vaccine indeed is a part of India's universal immunization program. So that's why this third statement is also correct. So correct answer will be C. That is, all the three statements given here are correct. Now looking at the second question, consider the following statements regarding the e-waste management rules of 2022 in India. Now, why exactly are we discussing this? Because there is this one article that was published in the Swaraj, and this is about the problem that may happen in India with regard to the solar garbage or the solar waste that may surge in India, and that's why it might lead to a lot of new kind of waste management problems that may arise for India. So in this context, let's look at the aspects of e-waste management rules of 2022 in India. The first statement, the rules extend the extended producer responsibility to include not only manufacturers but also refurbishers and dismantlers. Now this is correct. Now a couple of things. First, extended producer responsibility. What do we mean by extended producer responsibility? Now this is where we say that it becomes the responsibility of the producer that not only during the time it is with the consumer or before the time their product is with the consumer, but even the waste management after it has been discarded by the consumer, even that responsibility, that waste management responsibility also lies with the producer. That's why extended producer responsibility, that it's responsibility of the producer that even after the products have been discarded by the people, even then they are the ones who have to take the responsibility for all the waste that is being generated. Now this extended producer responsibility is something that was added to the e-waste management rules in 2011, and then after that now we see that it has been extended not only to the manufacturers but also refurbishers and dismantlers. This is correct. At the same time also to the recyclers, and producers. So of course producers, because they were the original ones which were being produced, which were covered under this rule. So that's why this is correct. the definition of e-waste has been expanded to include solar photovoltaic modules or panels or cells under the 2022 rules. This is also correct. Now that's why in this context of this article, this becomes very, very important, because until now we had not covered the solar aspects, but now we see that all the solar equipments also have been covered as a part of the 2022 waste management or e-waste management rules, which actually had come into effect in April 2023. Third is an online portal for registration of producers, refurbishers, and recyclers of e-waste was introduced. This is also correct. This was also introduced as a part of the e-waste management rules of 2022. So again, all these three statements given here are correct. So correct answer will be C. Then looking at the third question, consider the following countries: Taiwan, Philippines, Brunei, Vietnam, and Laos. How many of the above countries surround the South China Sea? Now, why are we talking about South China Sea? Because this was in the news in the Hindu, that Chinese Coast Guard tries to block Filipino vessels in South China Sea. That there were two Philippines vessels that were there in the South China Sea, and we saw that the Chinese Coast Guard basically had blew the whistle to these Philippines-based vehicles. So that's why it sparked a basic controversy here. Now, in the context of South China Sea, if you look at this map, you'll understand which exactly are the areas that are covered. So as you see, in the case of South China Sea, you have all these countries. So you have Vietnam, you have China, you have Taiwan, you have Philippines, you have Brunei, and you also have Malaysia. So at the same time, if you see here, you also have Indonesia. So Indonesia also is a part of it, but just remember that Indonesia does not claim anything. All right, Indonesia is not claiming anything with regard to the South China Sea. Now, apart from that, if you look at the options that we have here, we already discussed that we saw that Taiwan is there, Philippines is there, Brunei is there, Vietnam is there, and then Laos. Laos is a landlocked country. Laos is not a part of all these countries here. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So only 4 of these are the ones that are surrounding the South China Sea. Now, I know there is one controversial name that I have taken here. I'll see whether you come across this or not. Do you understand that there is one controversial name that I've taken in this entire scenario of South China Sea, or as the Philippines calls it as West Philippines Sea. So they do not even call it as South China Sea. Fourth question, consider the following statements. The James Webb Telescope discovered two ancient threads of stars within the Milky Way named as Shiv and Shakti. These star threads are believed to have played a crucial role in the formation and structure of the Milky Way galaxy. Now, why exactly are we talking about this? Because there is this one article, sorry, I missed this article, but there is an article that is there in the Indian Express today, and not only in the Indian Express, but also in some of the other newspapers as well, with regard to a new development that we see with regard to Shiva and Shakti. Now, this was not actually James Webb Space Telescope. This basically was another telescope which had found, and this was a telescope by the European Space Agency. So that's why this is not correct. It was not James Webb. And when it comes to Shiva and Shakti, they are threads believed to have played a crucial role in the formation and structure of Milky Way galaxy. This is correct because it is said that these two clusters, they are supposed to be the ancient clusters of the Milky Way galaxy, and they would have been present towards the beginning of this Milky Way galaxy. Hence, they have been taken from the Hindu religion, and they basically have named it as Shiva and Shakti. So first statement only is correct. So correct answer will be 1 only. Moving on to the previous question. Consider the following statements. First, ballistic missiles are jet propelled at subsonic speeds throughout their flights, while cruise missiles are rocket powered only in the initial phase of the flight. Now this is quite opposite of what actually happens, because when it comes to ballistic missiles, they are the ones which are rocket powered largely in the initial phase of the flight, And in case of the cruise missiles are jet propelled at subsonic speeds. So that's why this is cruise missile. So that's why not ballistic, and the other one is not ballistic, but I mean the second part of the sentence is ballistic. The first part of the sentence is cruise. So that's why this is a wrong statement. Agni 5 is a medium range. No, this is wrong. Agni 5 is long to intercontinental range, because it has a very huge range with a very long range up to 5500 kilometers. So that's why it's not medium range but long range to intercontinental range. So that's why this is wrong. And it's not a cruise missile, it's a ballistic missile. And BrahMos solid fuel intercontinental ballistic. No, this is wrong, because BrahMos is a cruise missile for shorter distance, maximum up to 290 kilometers for BrahMos 1 and up to 450 kilometers for BrahMos 2. So that's why this is also a wrong statement. So correct answer will be D, neither 1 nor 2. This was asked in your 2023 prelims paper. Now, okay, so this was the article that I was talking about, that they have found the Milky Way's ancient building blocks, Shiva and Shakti. Now they are the ones they have been found, and that's why this was in the news, and it has been published in a lot of newspapers and websites. Now coming to the fact of the day, and the fact of the day today is about the reusable launch vehicle that has been able to successfully pass the test. So reusable launch vehicle passes the test, and in this case just remember the name of the vehicle has been given as Pushpak. So Pushpak is going to be India's reusable launch vehicle. Now remember, reusable launch vehicle test is not the first time that we have tested it. We have been testing it since the time, almost since 2015, when the first successful test was carried out of RLV-TD. So this was called as RLV-TD, and now they have given a proper name to this RLV-TD. So what we saw was that this experiment was conducted, and this is where Pushpak now has been successfully tested with the help of Indian Air Force helicopter, that is Chinook. So this helicopter has been used, and it was released from an altitude of 4.5 kilometers, and it was able to autonomously navigate to the runway, and it has been able to perform the required task. One more thing which is very, very important to note when it comes to this system, that it has used or reused the components that were there in RLV Lex 01, and that's why the name that has been given to this is RLV Lex 02. This test vehicle has been given the name RLV Lex 02, which has used the systems and the hardware that was there on RLV Lex 01. So that's why this is very, very crucial, because this is in a manner we are testing that reusing of the parts on hardware etc. is actually possible, and now successfully we have again tested it and proved that we are moving in the right direction. So this is about today's session. I hope this session is helpful for you. Thank you very much for joining.